Hey, good afternoon, everybody. LRVS 2022. We are on day three, and we are nearing the end of day three. And our next speaker, super proud to introduce Charlie Matthews, CEO of Empowering Pumps and Equipment. And Charlie is going to be discussing empowering women in industry. Topic very important. Just going to turn this over to Charlie, and there you go. Thank you very much, everybody. Oh, and don't forget to check the code on the screen for the game LRVS Challenge. All right. Thank you.
Hey everyone. Thank you, Eric. Such a great intro. And I am excited to be here. I'm excited to be talking about empowering women in industry. You know, that is at the core of what I do now. And I also love seeing everyone in the chat. So please, yes, comment, ask me questions. I want this to be very interactive. I really do love this topic. So one of the questions I ask is like, what is it like to be a woman in a male dominated field? And I have to say, it's awesome. It's cool. It's one of the best places to be. And I think that might surprise some people, but it really is. And I have been in this industry almost 20 years now. It's the pump industry for me. So water pumps, chemical pumps. I know y'all know that stuff, but for me, walking through a plant and kind of being in that setting of male domination, if you will, this industry is a more of a traditional industry where we think about the STEM fields are normally, populated by men. These are the cool ones, in my opinion. You know, STEM and STEAM, I like to add in the arts as much as I can because those are the ones that touch my life and really um, there's a passion, right? There's a passion for these careers in these male dominated spaces. And I want to make sure that we talk about how to empower women into these spaces because, like me, I know there are many other women out there who love being in the spaces from manufacturing to the trades. We love it. And so, okay, so I've told you how cool it is. Empowering women in industry is the topic. And it is also challenging. It's hard work. You have to always be on. You feel like, and I'm talking, yes, for myself, but also the many stories that have been shared with me is it's a challenge. You show up and you are the only woman in the room a lot of the times. And so you feel like you're a fish out of water. And a good example, if there are any men on the call, which I have the men in my chat here so far, is that if you can imagine, and I've created this, if you ever want to join in, we've created the Empowering Women in Industry Conference. It's going to be in New Orleans, which is fun in October, but it's a majority. It's created for women. It's a majority of women in there, and then we have several male allies that show up. And one of my favorite things about that is that they get to step into a world where they're the minority, and they get to see how it feels for a woman to be surrounded by people who don't look like them. And so it's one of the best things that we can be a part of, is to challenge ourselves to think, what is it like to be a woman in this male dominated space? And so if you can imagine, if you're a man out there and you can imagine walking into a room full of women, pink and balloons and glitter and sparkle and pictures taking and lots of conversation, and maybe how intimidating that would be for kind of traditional ways of thinking. It might be intimidating. It is intimidating. And so the flip side is true. When a woman walks into a male dominated space, you feel intimidated. You have to really know that you belong. You have to have strong self-confidence. You have to have the skills and the tools, and you have to have support from that environment, those people around you that say, hey, you're supposed to be here. We're so glad you're here. Please share your ideas. And so I love Megan, who is now the princess, and so how she says, you got to be invited to the table. You have to actually tell people that they need to come and be a part of this group, and then you have to dance with them, right? You have to interact. You have to be able to show people that they are needed, that they are wanted, that their opinions are wanted, that they're because a natural is not going to be the case. It's not natural to feel like you belong in a room full of people who don't look like you. And so I just wanted to kind of start with that, to see kind of that contrast, right? It is a wonderful place. There are so many great opportunities for women in these male dominated spaces, but we also want to increase women into the workforce because we need them. We have a huge skills gap and workforce a knowledge gap, right? And it's just going to get worse. And we are trying to see, okay, how can we solve this problem for our STEAM industries that we can't run the world without them, right? And so bringing in women to this environment is a challenge. And so we have to step up to that challenge. And we saw that we can do it. There's a lot of things that we saw during the pandemic that uh, caused a lot of heartache, if you will. So many things had to happen. Yes, if you had a child under the age of like kindergarten age, I actually don't know how you made it during that time as far as still working. And we did see a mass exodus of people, both because somebody had to just take care of the children, but also that you were evaluating priorities and the difference of what's important in life. And so we did see that negatively affected the women out there. And I think that's just traditionally the woman is the caregiver. And so you see that heavily weighted in that direction. And so, it makes me a little sad, right? That we can't do both. But there's a lot of times where we need to look at what are our values, what are our priorities, and make sure that they're aligned. And as companies, we need to say, okay, if we have women in the workforce, we need to have flexibility. And it's not just that we need flexibility for the women. We need flexibility for families, right? So it does start with women. I always like to start with women. I am one. I feel like I have a lot to share in that. But really, anytime that we empower women, it's going to lead to empowerment in other areas. And I think that is what is key. So starting with, okay, if a woman needs to be off of work to take care of her child, then how is she still going to be able to work? How are we going to work together and make sure that the job and the work gets done? What can we do to support her in this effort? How can we change our work schedules? How can we support and have trade-offs as far as who's working on what hours to revolve around their hours? What kind of systems can we put into place? So you do have to use creativity and curiosity to figure out what is best for your team. And everybody is different. And I think that when we think of empowering women in industry, we have to have that as key. The other things that we can do is really try to support people at a young age when they're making the decision to join the workforce. Educate them on things like they need to have a career plan in place. What does this look like for them? Do they have a spouse? Do they want to be married? And so is that going to weigh in of having a supportive partner, right? And so encouraging people to learn these things early and really talk about them. This is something that we don't really talk about. Like, is your spouse supportive of you working in the industry? This is a question we all should ask ourselves. And I think that number one is going to help any type of problems. Now, the pandemic is, of course, it went on major scales, right? That we have never seen as far as childcare. But it really does get back to we need help from others. We need to make sure that our companies support that we are there. And so, and the needs of really everyone on the team. And so that human side of things and having open communication is so important. The other thing I'll say to my women out there in the audience is we have to be able to know what are our values, what are our career ambitions, what are our ambitions within our family, what does our life look like, what do we want that to look like, to even be able to have a conversation with another party, any if whether it's your family, whether it's your employer, or even just thinking big, right? Like, what do you want your life to look like? You have to dive in and see what your beliefs are, what are your values, what do you want to accomplish. And that is really where we have been able to see this shift, in some are good and some are bad, but we shouldn't even say bad. They're just parts of us, and different parts make us or help us make our decisions. But for companies out there, as they're trying to it, be more empowering for women, is that they're trying to figure out what are the best ways, what are the tools that people need. And so I really like that we have created these employee resource groups. And so, for example, you have one for women, you have one for disabled people, you have many different, and they kind of feel like silos, right? These groups. But that's where we get the intel that we need to take up to corporate, that we need to take up to our management to say, this group actually struggles with this. And so when we think of women, there are a lot of things, right? We're the only one in the room, which is intimidating. How are we going to skill up those women to be able to handle that if they're the only, to not feel those pressures out there that, you're not good enough, smart enough, all the things that we tell ourselves. How can we give them that leadership and mindset and emotional intelligence training so that they'll be ready in those settings? And the other thing, for empowering women for businesses, just like, what is it like to and having this conversation? We are having a fashion show for the Empowering Women in Industry conference, and this is key for me because a lot of the stories that I hear is that women, they feel like they have to fit in, they have to blend in, and they can't be themselves. And so not everyone feels this, and so I have to say that, but there are a lot of us who want to, kind of dress their unique style, and they don't feel like they're able to do that and be seen as successful in their work career, or that they are relevant in their job. And so I just want to knock that I guess stereotype. I don't know the right word. It's not coming to me right now, but just say that's untrue. We can show up as ourselves. There are certain areas where you have to dress a certain way because of safety. For example, I'm going on a site tour and I have to wear full PPE. But now we are taking the focus to go out and look for PPE that is designed for women. There are companies out there that are creating PPE for women. And so, will your company go and put that on their list as far as a vendor? How can we get more vendors added to the list? These are things that we need to look at, and we also need to be able to voice that as something that we need, and that not be something that, okay, that's what that girl needs again, right? And she's got to change things up, or whatever that kind of saying or underlying little comments are going to be. These are important so that the woman can show up as herself and feel like, in safety reasons, right, that her clothes fit and she's able to move around and do the things that she needs to do on the job site, but also that she feels good about that. If I can tell you, if you care about fashion at all and you feel like you're not able to put that in on an everyday basis into your life, you're going to feel like something's missing, and you're not going to be performing as your best self. So that's one note I'm really passionate about, that I think that will definitely help women in the industry. The other thing is just to be able to highlight women and to be able to tell their stories, to show that they are represented in industry already. They are out there, they are interacting, doing some of the most amazing work that is being done. And so, if we normalize that conversation and we send out stories and share that, it's going to help our current workforce. It keeps us inspired and energized, and knowing that there's different opportunities out there for us and different levels of opportunity. Always great for me to see a woman in the C-suite to know, okay, I can ask her a question because this is where I am and I don't know the answer, right? So I need to see those stories and hear those stories of somebody who's been there for me. And so, if I think about somebody just coming into the maintenance area, or even a tradeswoman, right, that's coming in and trying to learn a system, um, to have somebody else that she can go to and talk to and feel like they belong, and they can see themselves in that person. So, like a woman mentor, for example, this is only helpful for the future. This helps our um, the having representation that we can see and understand their story and how they got to where they were in this career, if that's where we're trying to head, that absolutely sets us up for success. And so, of course, I want to continue to send out those messages and stories through our platforms, but I encourage everybody to do that. I also encourage everyone to look for opportunities to share your story, to sign up and have someone nominate you for awards. Like, these are really opportunities to for you to step into that role, and so that you can empower yourself and others. And I promise you that stepping outside of your comfort zone and opening up your story is going to lead to more success where you are and the success for others on your team. And that is not just for women. I encourage everyone in the industry to, it's as easy as, answering some of those people of the week questions, like, how did you get into the industry? What do you love about your job? These things are not hard. It's just putting yourself out there. And so I encourage that. Um, I'm gonna look here. I've got a couple of things in the chat. I know I've been going on and on. Yeah, thank you, Ahmed. Lots of industries are still male dominated, absolutely. But my question is how long this will change or get balanced at least. Okay, well, and we believe that we should all have equal opportunity, absolutely. But this is what I do. I can't change this overnight, right? I can't fix this problem of we don't have enough women in the industry. But what I can do is I can get up every day and work on it. And so that is what I tell myself regularly as I share to people, is that we cannot expect this overnight happening, right? But we can continually point out that this is important to have the conversation, because a lot of people just don't know how to be more supportive. In the pandemic, we didn't even know how to support people, right, with their mental health. This was new. We didn't even talk about mental health before, right? And so, and definitely not just a woman's topic, but if women can start that conversation, because we do like to have conversations, and point it towards our mental health, right? And that is going to lead us into just betterment with it within everybody's company, if we can start that conversation. So that's just one example of how we can use communication to better the industry. What things can men in the industry do? Well, being here on an Empowering Women in Industry call is absolutely something you can do. Thanks, Josh, for being here. And I think that that's number one. It's showing up and supporting your fellow coworkers and looking for opportunities where you can make a change. I was just at a conference, and they were at Women Make Manufacturing Move conference, and there was a gentleman there, and he says, that he's there to support his colleague. And then I was like, well, what are you doing to really help the industry? Why are you here? Why are you supporting this? Right. And he like thought on that for the day, that evening. And he came back the next day and he said, you know what? I actually can make some vendors connections for her. I actually hold all of this knowledge right here, and I can kind of give that to her and see if I can connect her with some people. It's that simple. It's that simple of like, what is your knowledge base? What is your skill set? What is the resources that you have that you can give to support somebody else? And think about it in a way, it's normally a way that these are just the basics that you do every day, but you don't think about doing that for the woman in your group, right? They may not even be that connected with you if they're the only in a larger organization or a group setting. But if you can mentor her in any way to help her accomplish her goals, align with her business goals, if you can teach her finance, that's another thing. That is one of the keys that women need. They need to understand what are the basics to get into the C-suite, and financial information is one of those items that we just really need a lot more help. We're not used to interacting with that type of knowledge from a young age on. And so I think that that's really key. The other thing that I would say is we have to have community. So for our women to have community with other women, it's important. And it's not that we're wanting to be not inclusive. It's that we have to be able to share those common stories and see each other and bond that way so that we can feel part of who we are. Women, I love to say, is an exclamation point. It's I'm excited to be a woman. I want to be with other women industry energy. And I used to not do that. I didn't do that probably for 15 years, right? And I realized that's something that really energizes me and it makes me feel whole to be with that energy. And so I think men have a lot of opportunities to do that when we have industry get-togethers like golf tournaments or whatever that is. It is more of a male-dominated community anyway because of what we're in, right? It's just there are more men that's going to be there, so you're not going to feel that energy. So I challenge women to seek out and find women's groups that they can be a part of. It could be, a couple of three that you spent time with, or it could be, hundreds. So make sure that you spend time with other females. I missed that question, so I'm going to see. I'm sorry. Let's see which industries are taking the lead and representing women, and which ones have a ways to go. Okay. So the water industry for me, I have really noticed that they are very diverse, and that's both with women and people of color. So they're doing a good job. Of course, every industry needs to improve, but I do see that a little bit more. I do wonder if it's because of that environmental side, like caring for our earth, where we see a lot more women in that field. But I don't know that stat specifically, but that's how I feel. Also, this week or the week before, was at ASPE, so plumbing engineers, and they are doing a great job as well. So one of the things that they noted is that they put 10 women in leadership roles as far as overseeing the chapters, the national, state, regional chapters, I guess. And that I think also leads to more women in the industry, right? So we have more women in leadership leading these regional chapters, and then so that's bringing in more women into the main conference. And so everyone was saying like this made a really big difference. As far as a challenge, and I think the oil and gas industry does have a challenge, and it always, like as far as I know, it has a challenge for being a environment that makes women feel safe. And I don't want to say all are bad. Like, I'm not talking about companies specifically, but I think as an industry itself, they have a way of just having that like underlying tone that and like saying I don't know. I won't say. I have heard a lot of stories. I've been witness to a lot of stories while in the Texas area, I'll say. And it's more about like those underlying like testing comments or a little bit of sexual harassment. People are less likely to share that, but there's that environment there is really not the best for women. And we want to change that, right? Because I know so many women that do work there, that are successful there. And so we don't want that to be the story for the energy industry. And I do know that they are making waves. I just think that they're behind as far as that goes. And I couldn't tell you why exactly, but that is something that we need to work on. Okay, so one of the things that I am passionate about with empowering women in industry is that everybody gets those skills that they need. And so, just with a few more minutes left, I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about leadership and mindset, and being able to manage our state, manage what we want as individuals is really going to set us up for success. And so I think one other thing that I will say, just to piggyback on that, what Josh said, what can men do, is just if you see something that's out of line, if you would say something, maybe not in front of everybody publicly. That's not, you don't have to do that, but you do have to stand up for the young professionals that are out there, and really encourage people to listen to their ideas and listen to, you know, to see the opportunity in having them as part of the team. And there is a huge opportunity to have that type of insight, that type of different ways of thought in the conversation. That's where innovation happens. It's a different way of doing things. And I know that in a male dominated space, if we bring in women, that is going to change that dynamic and make us think, what can we do? And just a little shift of mindset. That's when things really happen. So I've done a lot of work on mindset, and one of the things for me was just, what is making me upset about something, right? Let me ask myself, if it's I'm in this work environment and it seems to be tough, tough, tough. What is it that is making it feel so tough? And really dive into that, right? If it's the same person every single time that's bothering you, dive into why. If we always like to talk about the woman in the room who's been interrupted, or that for me is like, well, if we were all in the room with women and we were interrupting each other constantly, it wouldn't be a big deal. And so if you're in a business setting and you are wanting to share your ideas and then you're interrupted, or you have shared an idea and then somebody else takes credit for that idea, what is it that's really bothering you about that situation? That's where the real work comes in. For me, I absolutely want my voice heard, right? So anytime that I'm needing to say something, or I feel like I'm going to forget to say something, or this is really important to say, and I kind of get that, don't get that opportunity, that can bother me. But why? Find out the why that bothers you. So I think that that's really one of those best practices, is managing your state and understanding your state. That emotional intelligence is not necessarily always about like reading the room, right? And figuring out where's their emotional state. It's about your state, and what you need is to see, okay, why am I feeling that way? What is the deal with that? Okay, Michelle, I agree that seeing women in historically non-traditional roles encourages more women to pursue those opportunities. Last summer, my granddaughter saw a picture of Ann Richards and asked me who she was. When I answered that she was the governor of Texas, she immediately answered, "Women can't be governors." My son said, "Women can't be engineers." I'm like, "Who are you?" I'm sure people across the street heard me gasp, since I've made the point of showing her women of all sorts. Thank you. I love your work too, Michelle. But that is it. That it is about that repetition of seeing yourself. And it's so important to see that in every one of these fields, because women can do all of these different opportunities that are out there. And sometimes, just because we don't talk about them in the role, and our children don't see that role, our bias is set in and we don't think we can do it. I didn't even know that manufacturing engineering was something that I could do. I was, absolutely not, not there when I was looking at colleges and what I was going to do. I didn't even think about that. So it's so important. It's so important that you're here, that you're showing up, that you are being part of the industry, both if you're a woman in the industry, that you know that you belong, that you seek out people that have like minds, like Empowering Women in the Industry group. I can connect you with any type of field out there. And there's also that you have to for our men out there to be supportive and look for ways that you can encourage women to be there and be kind to them and create a safe space for them, and encourage them that we want you here. We want to hear your ideas because that's going to make us better. And the other thing I would say, just to close up here, is that there's no shame that we're not doing this the best that we can today. We really want to make sure that we just look to provide the conversation for improvement, because we all know we can constantly improve. And I just want us to make sure that we stay focused on empowering women in industry as we do that. So thanks everybody for being here. I have had a great time. I can't wait to meet all of you. Thanks, Eric, for being the moderator.
Charlie, that was awesome, inspiring, really cool. Thank you very much, and illuminating.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thanks for taking the time out for doing this. It was great.
Yeah, y'all are doing a great job. And so this is probably the end, and then next year, right?
Yeah,
So
you ended. You ended
yeah,
it.
I get to end. Yeah, so y'all check out all of the recorded videos and make sure that you stay connected with all of these amazing people.
Cool, Charlie. Take care. Have a great weekend.
You too. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thanks.